have everybody doing the same thing.
Yeah, we had a lot of people being like, oh, I'd love to start a nonprofit, and we're like, please don't.
No.
Like, I love that idea, but hey, this organization does something kind of like that, like, maybe support each other and like resources. It's fascinating.
You guys have any, well, we have the Center for Nonprofit Excellence down here, which helps support small nonprofits in getting grants and managing boards and workshops. Then P&M decided they would duplicate what they do, spent a whole bunch of money, created Share New Mexico, which I was like, oh, here we go again, on that grander scale. So you have two groups that do exactly the same thing. And I thought, now the next one will be Santa Fe.
Well, wait, I mean, the Santa Fe Community Foundation does quite a bit.
But you guys had, that group's on fire too, that's a good.
They're so fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know. What happens when you don't have anybody? Just
Yeah, and we're gonna take off in like 15, so.
Well, you did a good job selling it.
I would just use you all as business consultants. I have some good ideas and I would love great advice. How's that?
I am close, my pitch is bad.
I think sales here, you did a good job.
I think you did a great job, but you did the best job with the last one, so they're all gonna let go, have a drink now and a nap, and
Yeah.
come back.
Yeah, that was a problem. They kind of oversold it.
Sorry.
Let's see.
Well, how do you want to run it? I like the idea of a round table.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk. I don't know. If nobody shows up, sorry about that. It's the risk of doing it's Friday afternoon. Someone, look there, there's. So I had planned little things here, but
You had some questions.
yeah, I had questions and everything. Good dude, good. I know everybody, but so yeah, let's start with you, because
Me?
yeah.
I'm Drew. I work on Dana's team. Yeah, well, I've been there for 2 years. So do a lot of the community engagement and outreach, and help with our philanthropy efforts as well.
I'm Craig. I think I'm on your team. But I work for the LLC, the quote unquote bowling alley, and run a learning center out of there, and do a lot of programming and outreach from that space, especially with art fair.
Yes.
I'm Susan Tweed, I'm a maker, I have a small place, hats and accessories business. I've been in business for 22 years, I mostly wholesale. Meow is one of my best customers, they've been buying my products since they started in 2016.
Wellington Hispanic, I teach here and I've been doing BCorps in my MBA class for 7 years now. And more I have to extend the amount of time and material, which is a good thing. And this is for me, it's amazing, this event, because I never see this happening, but it's happening. So yeah, I'm glad that I can be part of this movement. Thank you.
I'm Dana Ted, I'm the Director of Social Impact for Meow. I oversee our philanthropic efforts, our community engagement, and a little bit of marketing things in there, as well as our B Corp recertification and just the general knowledge of B Corp things.
I'm Kate Key. I am the Chief of Staff for Second Use. And if you weren't in that session earlier with Carrie, we are a kind of social impact company that mostly runs innovation programs globally. And so a lot of what we do has to do with working and accelerating entrepreneurs and startups. And so a part of my role within the company is I will be developing some resources for those entrepreneurs to integrate them and to kind of train them when it comes to B Corp certification and just what it means to be good business.
So I'm Stacy, I wear about 6 hats, a big one. But I teach here full-time, I run the Small Business Institute. That's the one I did want to talk about. Because if any of you have a business that you'd like to have 3 or 4 students sit at your doorstep for a semester, we create teams to help you do mostly it ties to each of the classes, so it's market research, and it's really inexpensive, and then more strategic planning. So we work with, 35 clients every semester. we win national awards, I love going to those when we win national, cause everybody's like, well, UNM's at the bottom and stuff, or New Mexico is, no, we're at the top. Get over it. So very excited about that. And then, outside of all that, outside of school, I published a lot of this. So it initially started when I moved back, I had a lot of people I was running into who didn't know about any jobs, so I sent them a job list. The jobs I'm applying to, gave my list. They were shocked. I said, oh, I need one job, so. But that started with 3 ladies, now I send it to 5,000 people every month. I have probably the biggest list, I have a bigger list than all the 20 chambers of commerce in the greater Albuquerque area. And then I have host that website with 3,000 links on it. And I just do all that for free because I'm trying to make the next go better. And if I can help put out any of your events or help you get student interns, I help a lot of people do that. And then I work with the Innovate Albuquerque group. I'm the liaison for them for Taos, actually. So that's another hat. So I have no hair, I guess. I keep putting hats. So anyways, excited to be here. I'd love to learn more about how do you, if a single or solopreneur can start a B corporation. Because I have 110 students, I teach entrepreneurial studies, and I run the short game class. So these kids are going out and they're starting businesses. Boy, if I could get them in this groove up front, that's what I was kind of asking now. I'd love to be able to do that. But I don't know, is there a minimum size? I don't know.
There's a photographer in Denver, she's a B Corp.
Yeah.
She does photographs for weddings. She's a,
Wow,
that's it,
really?
yeah, she's best for the world.
Top 10%, but
Right.
There's little things that she does as one person, she's a B Corp, so it can be that small.
And the assessment is based on the size and type of business that you run, and so dependent on that information, it's changed,
So I dug in there a little bit. How many questions on the assessment?
200.
Oh, no wonder. I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, and it's broken down into like governance, so, you know, we talk about like our board of directors, that type, you know, who's there, who's leadership in the company. We have workers, so like what types of things do you do for your workforce, pay, different benefits that you have, and then it's like the environmental piece of your vendors, all of your product, you know, how is it used?
I could see one big area where we could all tie together based on, we haven't had this discussion really, but having you guys come in as guest speakers to our classes.
Absolutely.
And then say, in fact, if I could have a checklist,
Yeah,
Trying to start to
just
build
talking
that.
to Alberta,
Alberto
yeah,
Stearns.
so.
He runs the business plan competition.
Someone should just ask, we would like to have a component here that's, they say, well, we don't have one.
We really don't.
So, probably this is a good thing to say, is it possible, I think it's possible, like, it'd be nice to design a business plan, can you already bring some components of the assessment?
Or even help me have added part of the template I give my students for either business model canvas or business plan. Cause I don't have really a sustainability issue.
Right, so
Sorry,
why you start and then you go back and start to get,
yeah.
do the impact assessment, why don't you just, I don't know,
I think it makes sense to build it in right from the beginning.
Yeah.
So.
There's also a B Corp pending status that companies can apply for if they've been in business for 12 months or less, because the idea is that the impact needs to be measured over 12 months. And so this is just a signifier, if you're just getting started, to employ those governance pieces or those pieces into how you treat your workers, and to signal to investors that you have these goals of becoming B Corp certified eventually. So there's also that status that's available to smaller
yeah, that's a missing link.
entrepreneurs, yeah.
Well, then the other group I was involved with for 7 years was Quality New Mexico. And there's really no component in there about that, other than the last few years, when I was still more involved, they were talking about sustainability of the business. So do you have a succession plan? But that's not this.
You're just listening.
I'm taking it and
Yeah.
I want my business to have a B Corp certification eventually.
There you go, that's a very one-on-one.
So, yeah, I've got so much in pages of notes here that I'm gonna have to go back over.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're here, just.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that somewhere either through economic development or something, there might be some money available to help pay for the B Corp certification. Do they allow that? Can you get like a sponsorship to pay for it?
That's not something that I'm familiar with. I would,
Sorry, I have a lot of
No, that's okay. Yeah, that's not something that I'm familiar with. I would contact probably BLab would be the best source of that. Yeah.
Right.
Probably ask
How many employees?
I have no plans. I contract my work out with the local
Yeah,
factory here in
so-
Albuquerque.
That lady in Denver, she's a photographer and she's in Corp. I think she gets paid minimum is $500.
Well, they said today 1,000.
I
And
think
they
it's
said there was some discounts available for organizations that have certain minority groups or have
Okay.
minorities in their leadership.
I think the fee is based on size.
Dependent on your structure, I think is where that
Yeah.
fee range
Yeah.
is.
So
500 would be, sorry, Stacy. 500, is that something that,
That's possible, that's
Okay.
doable. But I think one of the questions is, and this is also like, with the women-owned certification and stuff, is it gonna ultimately affect my bottom line in a positive way? Whether that's society, encouraging my business or, just having a good standing amongst the community or actually having more money, so.
I need to connect you with that lady. She's a photographer and she had similar, her story was that, she never just did it and she's certified and people say, right, you can't be certified, you have no impact. You're by yourself. And I said, no, right?
But I think everybody
25%
has to
of
have
my
an
income, I
impact,
do
yeah.
shit, so she donates 20% of she makes, she donates to something, so I don't know, little things that she can do, I'll connect you with.
Okay.
Yeah, it might be interesting to think about that last the last question of like what can we do to continue the be local or whatever we wanna call it, thinking about like the resources that are here, Family Friendly New Mexico being one, I think of West as
Right.
well.
I've been
And
studying a lot.
And like I wonder if there's a fund or something that we could help set up with them that is like, funding or mentorship or support for small businesses that do want to certify.
Yeah, you'd have to, well, now I can share this is my list of all the.
I know, you have it.
I
But
love this
interesting
guy.
enough, if you take one, but I worked at West for 5 years as their regional manager in Rancho. They'd probably be a good one, yeah, cause they already think sort of
I
that.
was thinking of Denver, Asio, New Mexico, because they do that kind of stuff too.
The other idea I have is, I'm the one guy who publishes and director of all the 506 professional associations or industry groups. So I'm getting certified right now for the American Marketing Association, PCM is Professional Certified Marketer. So I thought, well, wait a minute. Patrick Gannon, who runs JTEP, was one of my previous students or friends. I saw him the other day. And I said, would you be willing to fund a certification for a small business? Because that's part of your training, and then it ups our game for all these small businesses. There are 150,000 small businesses. There's 500 professional associations. Would you fund that? Well, that's almost the same kind of funding for this. So he wants to meet and talk about that. And I'll pitch him on the B Corporation as another, because there could be training around. And that would be a question for you guys, if you did training, would you bring in somebody to talk about how to be more B corporation-ish, or whatever that word is?
Or just advising on filling out the assessment, because it sounds like it's pretty complicated, people get overwhelmed by it easily.
It's definitely not too bad. I've been going through, we recertify next year, so I've been going through this year all of the questions, and then just putting, our first answer down. I think a lot of it is in simple language and pretty easy to navigate. I think the hardest pieces are the measurements. And being like, oh, well, I don't, I don't measure this yet, or how do I estimate this?
Or how do I measure this year to last year?
And like
That
our,
was the
our
same
carbon
problem.
footprint, like.
Quality New Mexico. You'd say, well, I care about diversity, but, in my company, but how do you measure it? And do you measure it? No. But I could easily see, I'm thinking way outside the box, but you have a certificate programs here. We could have something on B Corporation certification course to do all that you need to do. And then JTEP would pay for it. And you'd be instead of being the homeowner, your title would be, B Corporation advocate or liaison. And then all the work you would do to train to do that, or bring that in, would all be paid for by JTEP. I'm way outside the box here, but I'm
I
thinking,
love that idea,
what
because
the
it can take that class, and
Yeah.
that would be really helpful.
And it doesn't have to be us, I mean, I taught at St. too. And there's lots of other schools that you could probably tie into, but that, it's more about the funding, answering your question. And then, you're already doing it, so you just get a bigger picture.
And I was also thinking about, just JTIP is one of the programs, and then just like New Mexico Workforce Solutions, right? Like,
Right.
they're trying to find innovative ways and, you
And I'm
know,
on their
things they can
board,
do.
actually, I'm on the workforce.
Yeah, and so it's like, what are those resources, like, could we get them made available?
Yeah, cause they're all in an NMI tab, how about an NM Corp? There's a whole nother, let's have that discussion. I think that'd be best.
I do think for really small businesses, the money could definitely be an obstacle, and if there was a way to at least get part of it in there to like be helpful, that would be awesome.
Yeah, to your question around like, is it worth it, right? Is that $500, $1,000 investment worth it? We as a B Corp, we're looking towards to the other B Corps to be our partners, to put our resources there, to like spend our money where we know that it matters. We're in a place where we are a startup and we're not able to do it as much as we want to right now. But that is something that like in the next 2 to 5 years that we'll be looking and reassessing all of our vendor relationships, all of those things, and being like, all right, well, like how many of these are local, which is fabulous, how many of them are B Corps? Like, and that's one of the questions on the B impact assessment is how many of your vendors are B Corps?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind would be that network of potential buyers going to you because of that.
And I do think it is becoming more in depth, it's just still very big thing.
Oh, yeah. And I think I'm interested too in like working with Second Muse or Towski Valley and like and maybe the Anderson School on doing a awareness campaign. I think that
That's what
even
someone else was saying
yeah,
before, I
like
think
us,
that's,
like we need to do an awareness campaign as our company. And so, is there something that we can all echo at around the same time or around the same year, whatever it is. But really interested in pushing that forward with the group. And we've just been really, really collaborating with Carrie and Dawn. Second Muse is fantastic. And, just like we literally got brought together by the Anderson School about a year ago.
Less than summer,
Garima invited us to speak to one of her classes. It was like the first time we'd all been in the same room. It was us and Positive Energy Solar, Second Muse and House, like the 4 B Corps in New Mexico. It was the first time we'd been in the room together. So it's like from there, it's like really, continuing.
cool, so
Continuing
we're
to
all
grow.
getting in on the ground floor. Yes.
Yeah, it's really new for us.
It is,
Yeah.
I think it's new for lots of people, I can't believe just in the last week when I was telling people I was doing this, like how many people had no idea
Right.
what a B Corp does.
Yeah,
So-
so the idea of the Maxwell for Good program is sort of the next step, which would include clinics. Some North Carolina, University of North Carolina, they have small course for clinics.
You're leaving, see y'all later.
Force of innovation, get ahead across the street.
See you guys over there. I'm gonna go meet with you and the children.
That's fun.
So one idea is, we have that City Alive program here, and so they generally write an article every month that they put out. I'm not on their board, but I asked if I could write an article, so I was gonna write something about, I've been doing research on I hate when they say 9 out of 10 businesses fail. I don't care about that, who's the one that didn't fail? Well, it ends up, I gave a speech to Edgewood Chamber the other day, but the one that didn't fail, the oldest business on the earth is in Japan, it's 1,600 years old. There's over 100 businesses over 1,000 years old. So I'm like, okay, who are these people and what made them? You know what's interesting underneath it all? It's some version of sustainability. So I'll send you my notes, because that's built right into this story. These are 30 generations have survived because they thought of sustainability. Isn't that interesting? So they said, could you write an article? So I was gonna write that, but I'm thinking I'll write about this. And then I've been on the TEDx board here. There's supposed to be a TEDx in Santa Fe. I think that's crashed and burned now. I don't think it's gonna
We just got asked on Friday or yesterday, and it was like, but when is it?
Isaac, was it Isaac? Oh.
I don't know who it was.
Well, you guys had one about 6 years ago, I've been on the board here, and so I'm gonna be doing a TEDx Salon mini one at night this will be my third, as a curator for entrepreneurship. And I'm thinking, what the hell, let's make it a B Corporation TEDx salon
Yeah.
for New Mexico. That'll be in February, so I'm like, we're gonna meet next week, I'm thinking, why don't I spin that into that too?
Yeah, you know, our it's not typical leadership retreat is in Taos in early February. I don't know what date it is, I don't know yet.
Why would one not be on that day?
Yeah, or have it be the day before, day before as people are flying in, a lot of people fly into Albuquerque. They could potentially
You're
even get 7th Gen Patagonia, Ben and Jerry's, they attend that event.
What?
It's
Oh my
fantastic.
God.
I was there in the room, just like, who am I? Like, what? Am I just dreaming
So is
here?
that the B Corp leadership in
Yeah.
February? Okay.
Yeah, I think it was February like 12th through 14th last year. I assume the dates will be similar
Is
this
it
year.
always in house or is it moving around? It's always in
I mean,
house.
I think it's a new thing.
It's the last couple of years, it's cool.
Yeah. I would just.
So it'll be in
Like
Taos?
saltwater pool and like,
That was so fantastic.
It'll be in Taos.
Yeah, we'll get.
So they hired me as the UNM Innovation County liaison for the UNM Taos campus. So I'm gonna be doing more stuff with media up there.
Yeah,
Not just me though, there's others, but wow.
that'd be a good opportunity for you to have Taos, to have people come down and speak.
Yeah, I should get you guys to come in and speak. Well, this is detailed, but on the big TEDx, when we did that, there's 25 speakers. You have to apply and there's a jury group, right? With the salons, you, the curator, and I'm the first one now, so I'm gonna get some other curators, but I was gonna try and make it all just students. How fun would that be? And then, we picked the speakers. It's a little prejudicial. But I figured, that's what I'm thinking, I can push this to B Corporation, have that be the theme. How cool is that?
Yeah, and I think other opportunities like that, if there are,
A TEDx event, a TED event on B Corporation?
right, and I think.
Because it
like,
goes into their
blend-
mix then.
Yeah, I've learned from the Santa Fe Green Chambers and a few like editorial pieces on B Corps, but we really need more awareness of the whole movement, the whole community, what it is. And I think that would help all, startups and small businesses, to figure out, is it worth it?
well, and to get their vendors excited about what they're doing, hopefully supporting them.
So relative to one of the other things you said, there's been about 15 that I know of, buy local things here, and they pretty much crash and burn. Because people wanna buy the cheapest and it's not about buying local. But I was on the board for the Thrive ABQ. And I made a list that's in this package of all the buy local things that are going on right now. But if they had a push from behind it with the B Corp, that these could survive. That was always the missing element. So that's in there, just in case you're
It'd
looking
be
for.
interesting to see if New Mexico and True got behind the big thing too, because it seems like they already have a lot of things in common.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
about local.
Yeah, we've been
Yeah.
meeting with the tourism department who runs that campaign.
I got certified this year. Stick on my stuff.
Are you true?
I am New Mexico True, 100% made in New Mexico.
Okay.
It's fantastic, but yeah, I think I'm missing a meeting with them today here. But I think that's a good idea of figuring out if there's a marketing campaign that they could do locally. I know most of their marketing campaigns are drive markets, and so they're advertising in Dallas or advertising in Houston or
But they do
wherever.
have all the billboards here too, so.
Yeah, because you're still selling New Mexico.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good idea. Can we have a TV series? B Corporation reality show? No.
One of these days.
B Corp Shark Tank, right?
Yeah,
That's what you're
I don't know. I teach that class, that's the weirdest thing, because I always mostly teach undergrads or older, I think it's your crowd, and then some of the MBA classes. And then we started this class, they're 18 years old, they're right out of high school, and I looked in the room like, who are these children? Oh my God. It was funny.
Yeah, if you use an example of, I talk about the BP oil spill.
Yeah.
That's 2010, they go,
What?
Oh, yeah.
that's old,
No.
you were 10,
Oh, no.
right, so I need to change my examples, because 10 for us is,
Well, I was thinking I'd have music playing
10 years
for
ago.
our kid, like hip hop, and then one of the
Like-
kids says,
yeah, but they
hip
go,
hop.
do you remember that? Yeah, they go,
Like
I don't remember that,
Yeah,
I said,
like
oh,
old
you were 10 years
classics,
old,
huh?
so, So I had to update them.
Yeah, they wouldn't know what that
And
is.
they need to
No,
know, they
I
need to
keep
know.
using, I tell a story, repeat the story. How they change their
I don't even
names.
know the new words, I mean, like, you know, they say delicate. That's probably where they go.
I was like, I don't know about young,
What's that?
I'm not that young.
Yeah, so, well, I just trying to remember the name of that lady, but I'm trying to keep up, because I was in Denver in July for that. That's why I met Josie. One thing that I saw there is, it's almost like, the BCorps themselves just move by themselves. There's no need to have, they themselves, just like a big block. And people help here and there, but they're so numerous now that they just have the energy. So I don't think we are there. I think I just said the four of you met that 1 year ago here, so I think that's a good thing. We're trying to get some traction, and any help is good. So it's interesting to see how the next few months are going to go after this event. So we have few plans, but and I think there's good energy, but so it's
Can I ask a quick question? You guys have done it, right? Both of you? So what's the time commitment? And is it in the front end or in the middle and the back end? I mean, where do you get involved in managing the B Corp side of it?
Yeah, so I didn't do our first certification, I'm currently doing our recertification, so we, as a B Corp, you recertify every 3 years. The commitment is really not too crazy, especially, I mean, for a single person, it might be pretty intensive for you to like have to pull all the numbers yourself. For me, right now, I'm going through and answering the questions and then marking which ones need verification or more tracking from our HR or operations team. I've been working on it, basically I took like 2 full days to go through all the questions and was like, all right, here's where we are, and then here are the questions that I need to get over to our teams, and like disperse those questions out, and then just following up and waiting to get data back. And then so from there, you know, we're just like in the assessment of like where we are, making sure we're gonna hit our number. And then next year we'll fully like fill out the survey, hit submit, and then there is work on the back end. So you do have to pull your supporting data. So you know, pulling all of your HR numbers, your carbon footprint, things like the things that it asks you to measure, you need to back those up. You know, I think that it's like for one person it can be intensive, but for multiple people, you know, especially if you have support, you know, it's not too.
This is where we get those college interns to come help us.
Right. Well, I can get you a
so
little.
one more thing that I remembered about that lady. Her story was so unique. And one thing
You're
that-
talking for your time.
Yeah, but she used the company, and she said that it was really fast for her. Many things don't apply.
Right.
So carbon emissions, well, I turned my lights on, so
Right.
one room, I don't know, so she said it was actually very fast for her compared to,
Just because it was pretty simple for her.
yeah, because she was in the
Probably
water.
knew her business really well too.
Yeah.
What's that?
She's a photographer.
Yeah, she does plannings. That's all she does.
I don't know our like HR numbers off the top of my
Right.
head, I don't know all of our vendors, like that's.
But I know a lot of that stuff
Yeah.
myself because I
So
am.
she went, she said, she just went, doesn't apply, doesn't apply, yes, it does.
Yeah, there's a question about staff, well, your staff.
Yeah.
Yep,
Do you think,
So on some level,
you
that
take a
probably
pay
should be
leave?
shorter,
Yes, I do.
but
as much as I want.
Yeah, I
was gonna
Lots of
say-
paid time off.
when I worked at West, I helped
So,
with
yeah.
this was
I'm trying
the
to find her, because I have.
global reporting initiative, so we're reporting our carbon footprint information, which was totally
Oh
bizarre.
my god, I still need support in like how are we gonna measure our carbon footprint?
So there was a couple ladies here in town that were Concept Green, they would do this for you. And so I think we were the first or second business in the whole state to do this. But they had people coming through with Geiger counters almost. You know, it's like little devices to measure. But again, that's a big building, that's not your home office.
Yeah, the larger you get, the more complicated.
I think in terms of time, at least from our perspective, we certified in 2016. So it's been about 4 years since we've certified, and so I think we have it under our belt, we know what to expect, and we kind of have integrated a lot of what the assessor has told us within our documents and within our structure. But the ongoing maintenance of that and explaining it to new hires as we're growing really quickly, and being able to kind of train our new hires that are coming into the system about what BCorp is pretty time intensive.
Do you think that'll get easier because
Totally.
as it just becomes more recognizable?
Yeah, for sure. And just
You have an
constantly.
auditor come in and audit you then? That's-
That
that's
happens
where it could get a
sometimes.
little crazy.
Yes, that happens sometimes.
Yeah,
And I'm sure that would be.
yeah.
Cause then they're gonna ask your staff a question like, what do you do about
Yeah.
whatever, and they're gonna go, I don't know anything about that.
We just put on a summit last
That's
week.
the idea, you can't self-report.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
It was, that's the purpose of certifying to self-report.
Right.
We just hosted a summit last week for all of our North American companies to get together, and one of the sessions was, here's what BCorp is, and
So you
here's why we're
explained
doing
to all
it
of
to
them
everybody while we're in
at
the
the same
same
time.
room, so that we could have a conversation about what this means on the ground when we're doing
And how many
programs.
of your employees knew about it ahead of time or understood a little bit about it?
So everybody knows about it, when they are being onboarded into our company, that's something that we talk about, it's even in our hiring practices, so the questions that we ask people are directly related to our BCorp status. So everybody knows in some way, shape or form, but we're a pretty dispersed company, so we have offices in the Asia Pacific region, we have some here in North America. And so having the same narrative and the implementation looks different in all of those different places. And so being able to kind of come together for the first time face to face as a North American team and a really new North American team was really great to be able to facilitate those conversations, because I think that as we've done this, that's been the struggle, is the operations side knows exactly what BCorp is and we know how we're doing it, but the people that are kind of on the ground and working with it need to also be able to communicate to our clients.
And communicate the same way, so
Absolutely.
you're all on the same page.
Absolutely, yeah, so
Right, cause
that's
you
time
were
intensive.
reminding me of Quality New Mexico, I was the vice president of Kirtland Federal Credit Union, and we were going through that process, and here comes an auditor asking all these very specific questions.
We're gonna make
In
them all.
Quality New Mexico speak,
Mhm.
and our employees didn't know what the hell they were talking about, and oh my god, I'm like tracking them around going, oh my god. We got through it, but it was painful.
Yes.
Ours are not.
We're
There we
working
go,
on it
that's the idea.
constantly,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say we're there.
I've presented at, we have all company meetings, like, every 2 months, I've presented like almost at every single one.
Just put a call.
And like literally I have people that are like,
Well, you might give them, yeah, take questions in scripts, but oh my
Yeah.
god, that could look weird too.
hurting artists is very challenging.
Hurting artists.
They don't wanna be hurt.
Oh my god,
Yep.
that's hilarious. So you know what, we had someone join us, and
Yes.
so
Oh.
maybe she wanted to.
I
Yeah,
wanna know who you are.
yeah,
You do?
we're intentionally giving you out, that's fine.
My name is Maya. I'm just a student, like a volunteer here. So let's see if I will from these cell phone numbers. I was like, yeah, maybe I could just turn this.
Yeah, being in the realm of the Neowol people, because they are the
It's
image
so
coolest.
popular. It's like
I don't know if I'm that cool, but
Ah!
It's
Yeah,
like,
I'm association, and I'm probably the least cool Meow staffer, but I'm like the nerdiest one, so.
Do you have a pen?
There's a
Yeah.
big,
Yes,
there's
that's what it
a-
is.
Oh my god, look at that, that's cool.
There's a big giraffe. I remember it's like red or black. Yeah.
And
That's
to
a
remember,
balloon
just
tie, that's
3
not
years
even-
ago, people would say, what is Neowol?
I mean,
Now
everyone-
everybody knows.
Yeah, I still get a lot of what is Meow, but
What do you say to
I get a
that?
lot less than I used to.
Immersive
It's very
art.
challenging. Yeah, we're an immersive art and entertainment company. We specialize in location-based model of exploration for the whole family to enjoy.
Okay. This is good.
Visit us in Santa Fe and visit this.
Soon across North America.
Mostly like you have to see it. So come experience.
Is the Hired ride just like totally packed with people right now?
No.
Really?
No, it's
I gotta go
awesome.
do that.
We're just not, we're kind of between seasons, so we'll start getting busy like this weekend.
Mhm.
But like the last few days have been really, like, slow for us. Which is
I've
still
met Vince once or twice.
I'm never going in a real
You guys should have
life.
Meow Wolf the opera, and have a Meow Wolf in Santa Fe opera. Around that family, so, right?
It's true.
And then they come in and phase in and out of the stage. Could that be crazy?
It'd be a really cool Neowol.
I think it'd be.
So just, something came to mind, and that gentleman asked the question this morning, why it's so expensive, why they're so regulated? It's a weird question, but I like, no, we're always in the front of research, so that's our, I like questions that's a good question. Because there was a study last year, now, I think it was done with BCorp-Baking, and they found a significant, what do you call it, negative impact on performance of employees doing certification. The idea was you do spend some time out of your job to work on the certification. So there's a little, slow down, little extra energy needed, meaning, which is good, because if it's too easy in self-reporting, everybody has one. Everybody has these logos. It's supposed
So
to
it
be,
means something.
it's supposed to be hard enough that you can do, can't be that simple. And so we'll see, it doesn't, amazing how many people want to jump on the negative side. But the point was, the question was, oh, it's too hard. Okay, you see the other thing, what's the potential here? Of course, it cannot be that easy, so it's hard sometimes to convince people, even our students, to say, no, but how much does it cost? That's not the point here, right? I know you're in business and you have to always do the calculation, but that's not the point.
Probably the benefit is net. It's one of those things, it's not, you're not gonna see a bottom line number immediately, but it's.
Yes, yeah.
But the
It's
perception of
built
your
in.
company to the public.
Yeah,
So good luck trying to measure that.
The session about impact investing this morning was amazing, because they all said this. You should not let that be that easy, you should not be next day return. Otherwise, no, every little corner is doing it, so. I think it's a good thing it gets renewed and updated, because again, once you start, maybe this isn't too easy, new research comes up, new things, so CO2, well, that's not good anymore, we need to make it a bit harder enough so that you keep doing it, so.
I think a lot of that too has to, when you're certifying, is unearthing a lot of things about
Yes.
the way that you operate as a company. And so potentially some of that discomfort in terms of when you're certifying comes from just things are changing and things are moving and
Maybe
changes.
just things you haven't thought of before and they're like, oh,
It's a
really
mirror,
should have done that.
Right,
It's-
totally. And it's an accountability, right, for how you kind of monitor your operation. So I think that hopefully has something to do with that as well. But ultimately, after you get through the certification, these practices are in place to hopefully benefit. And one of the things that we've seen work really well is our employee engagement, and employees feeling happier because of some of the things that we've integrated in. So, after the certification process, usually you can see those benefits start to come through.
Was it Dave?
So if I were to wanna become a B corporation, I'm not gonna do it through New Mexico. So where would you suggest?
We're in Delaware, BCorp.
Really?
Why did you put that? No, I don't, you don't know. But it has to be through a state that doesn't, so, and there's only 37 states now, right?
Yes, Oklahoma just did it last month. It was really
Is it-
fast for some reason, like, then I learned that the person behind the bill knew someone in the government,
Oh,
and
well,
it was like, ding. But, we're an island, we're an island now, right? So it's
All around
everybody
us.
around us,
Yeah.
yes, so.
Is it cost different things or have different assessments in different states that you go through, or is it the national thing?
That's a good
I
question.
don't, we're just certified, so we do the B Corp certification, but we're not, it's not the legal entity of B Lab, so.
So that's a question I had next kind of interesting because, what's his name, Dominic, right? Denver. He's a attorney, he has that thing.
Probably can answer.
Yeah, cause some people are saying now, okay, I'm certified, I don't wanna go PEC, right?
Right.
And they're forcing me to, so that's a friction now, because B Lab says you have to become
Once
PEC
they, so,
after 3 years.
yeah, I think so, it's like a.
But here we don't have to, because there's no law, but it's a place where there is a law, the company says, but I'm okay being a solo or a LLC, whatever, and I don't wanna go, and so that's where B Lab is trying to force something, and some people are saying, we don't like you to tell what to do, so I'll ask that question, because,
And I imagine it was a conscious decision to go through Delaware, as opposed to one of the states just surrounding us, so.
Well, when we certified, there weren't, I think there were like less states.
Okay.
I think there were like 15, so there were less to choose from.
So when you certified, did you have to have a different, this is gonna be way too much detail, but did you have to have a different sort of a board makeup? And then the second would be, do you have to do different accounting?
But yeah, we don't have to, so I mean, our board makeup has actually gotten worse because as a startup, we took in investors and they purchased a board position. Those board members are white men. Before that, we had a diversity of women as well and a couple of people of color, and we no longer have that diversity. And our board,
And that's gotta
At that
be part
time-
of one of the measurements.
yes, that's part of one of the measurements. So that's one where like we're gonna lose points, but we're gonna earn points in other places because we track things better now. But yeah, at that point, the board signed off on doing it, spending the resources to do so, and we were successful. Our first go around, we have like an 80 point score, so we're like right on the cusp, and we're one of those folks that they're like, all right, let's look at your assessments and let's look at all of your data so we can pull everything and get it all ready. But yeah, we don't have to have any separate accounting or anything like
That was,
that.
cause nonprofit accounting has there's different ways to account.
I mean, we have an audit, we have an outside audit.
Right.
And so like for example, our board has gotten worse, but like we now do external audits because we as a company have to and are doing so. And so now we've done like several audits this year. It's a big process.
So the 80 points, another detail, but is there like an 80-20 rule in there such that some portion of whatever you're reporting is gonna be the biggest number within the 80? I'm not sure if I'm saying that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand your question.
Well, is that, so maybe they look at 6 things, is there one of them that accounts for most of the 80?
But it's 8 in each.
Oh,
It's I think it's 200 points.
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, okay.
200 total.
Yeah, 200 points total, and so we've scored most of ours on workers, governance and social, were our big areas. We don't do super well on environment because we don't have the capacity to measure. We don't have the staff and the team to be doing that. We do like 100% compostable materials, 100% recyclable materials.
Right.
We do some of those things. We have solar, but it's like we don't do a lot around the environment. So that's not a place where we've significantly invested.
And the assessment is dynamic, so based on who you are, where you are, what sector you work in. And so depending on your answers to those questions, it might shift.
Which would make sense, it's
Yeah.
custom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
It's fascinating.
how Meow Wolford's points might look a lot different than how it does in second
Yeah, ski towels, they have a hard time passing the environment.
Yes.
They cut trees down to make, so there's some, but they compensate with something else, so it's a good thing, you have to adapt to certain issues. I have a question that's been taken from, it's always, you guys mentioned in their reports, it said that once they got certified, they were all happy, everything, people were asking different questions. Those that, meaning, you say all the good things about you, some people are there just to make you prove every day, say, hey, certified, why are you not doing that? Before certification, they said,
They never notice what you're doing.
meaning they almost want you to fail in a way, or find some weaknesses because you're, I'm being certified, okay, but what about this? So do you find this?
Absolutely, and I think that's part of being a growing company, part of being where we're at visibly within the community. Literally every day I get people that are like, you don't do enough, you don't do
Oh
enough.
my god.
It is bullshit, and so what we're doing is like pulling all of our it's like, well, like your definition of enough. And so it's just, we just have to kind of ignore it.
It's
And be
amazing,
like, this is where we put our resources, and like we know that these are our blind spots. And just knowing where those are is important. But yeah, I literally get people every day that are like, what do you do for the community? I don't see you doing anything. It's like, well,
It's almost like once you become certified, the questions become tougher just because they want to see you answer them. They're really good, and yes, did you see anything with second use or is it a bit more business to business?
It's a lot more business to business, in terms of like, the public perception is mostly our clients, and we are sometimes advising them on how to do things, more sustainably or circular. But a couple of the things I've noticed is once we pass this, like, we're just, even with the events that we put on and the things that we do internally, there's a lot more, input into those, just so that we can like make sure that we're maintaining our B Corp status and make sure that like, what we say we do, like we talk the walk the talk, essentially. So I haven't necessarily had a lot of it from the public, but when we're communicating with clients, it's mostly
I think this has to do with the type of business, right?
Yeah.
Which, what your boundaries are, right? Are you constantly in contact with unions or you just?
Well, and there's some of those trolls that are just gonna be negative, but.
Yeah, but then it becomes worse when you start saying that you're good.
Right.
They go, oh, I'm gonna find something on you. So.
Well,
I
yeah,
think, there's a bigger issue right now. It used to be, I've taught here 20 years, the first classes I always said, where do you get your news? It was TV, radio, newspaper. And now it's Facebook, Snapchat. I had a student the other day ask me, what's the Albuquerque Journal? I did not, I
Did
was,
you say it's, never mind, I won't say what it was. I was gonna
well, I didn't know what to say.
sorry.
I wanted to laugh, and then I thought, no, she's asking, I'm not gonna do that, so I just bought a paper, brought it in, said this is the newspaper. What were you gonna say?
Trash. What was that journalism?
Well, I used to write for the Tribune,
Was it the Texas Tribune?
the Albuquerque Tribune. It was the afternoon paper. Yeah, it was,
You just wear so many hats.
well, that's because when I moved here,
Sorry, we,
that was
we're
on volunteer.
coffee shop style, so.
Yeah.
I'm checking which one.
Yeah, we. Yeah.
Just take a chance.
We're just chatting.
Okay.
Yeah, why do we know, we can solve everything.
I know, this is fascinating, I'd like to stay with this all through. I'm Trish Lopez, I've run teen years. Just said, oh, were you sitting next to me earlier?
Yes.
Like, oh, okay, so then she heard me say that before. So you're with Second News?
Yes.
Okay, and so your person, your colleague was
Yes.
person speaking for you, okay. How did you guys start the conversation?
About trips.
Oh.
Like, you want to say
We're just having a good time.
we just wanted to go get
You
us some
mentioned,
chocolate.
you mentioned you wanna pursue that certification, right?
Yeah, except right now I was like thinking about it, and that's why I was glad the woman on Mount Aaron said this. I was like, how small do you have to be as a business to be a B Corp? And I was like, really, right now it's me, and because I'm paying them as contractors, because until you get to that point of being able to, and I don't know when that will be, like
But
enough
you make
business.
one mistake, you can pay people as contractors
Yeah,
for
like,
different reasons.
When I heard her say that her boyfriend had no intention of ever like really having like employees, I was like, that sounds so nice. Because this works out so beautifully, and I honestly think it works out well for the new generation of workers. Because before this, I was in the film industry where so many people were on contractors. I mean, they get paid far better than we do, but it's just been so nice for me to keep at where we're at, as I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I really like having flexibility to be her mom and then do teen years second. And so I haven't ever sought investments, I've never anything, but we have our small business and we have our nonprofit arm. This year we got a 40K grant from Facebook, so we get to expand to Valencia County.
That's
And I'm
awesome,
super excited.
congratulations.
And so I've always been like teetering between, should we be a nonprofit, should we be a for-profit? And so I'm really excited about today's talks. But I also wanted to ask your guys', unless you guys are ready.
No, by all means, it has to.
What does your business do?
So teen years are tech savvy teens who help senior citizens learn technology.
Oh, that's awesome.
One-on-one personalized coaching, so we work in 2 ways. Individual private sessions where like Danica's mom calls and says, she got me an iPad for Christmas, I have no idea what to do with it, or my printer stopped
I'm just
working.
glad she called.
That's true story.
So no, we're joking. So then we would say, oh, okay, would you like to come to our office space downtown? You rent the co-working space, that height, for $49.95 an hour, or for $10 more, we can come to your home. And then we use one of our over 18-year-old teenagers. And then there's group events where it's like senior living community or a senior center says, hi, we have like 15, they're always coming when they got their smartphone, but they all have different devices. Can you help? And then we bring in a group of seniors and do one-on-one tutoring. So it works out really well and we get fantastic client reviews. So I've always really prioritized our clients, our team, and, you know, just getting enough money to pay bills and that kind of thing. But I liked hearing the talk this morning because I was like, okay, we're already doing a lot of this, because I've always sort of known in my mind, if it matters, then measure it. So we've used SurveyMonkey to collect data on every client that we've had. We have these great flows that we use for grant funding.
How big are you?
Not very, I mean, by the sense of people,
No, just
like, it's just, well, I'm the only, I would say, full-time person, I have a
Right.
part-time assistant, and then I have, I think there's 10 seniors, it fluctuates based on like who's graduating.
so, you know June that was talking there, in local Colorado?
Yes,
Yeah, so.
Kim,
No,
That-
Julie, from,
She's on the last one on
Yeah.
the
Oh,
far
like the
right
red-
side.
oh, I missed the last one.
oh, okay, so anyways, I don't try to, I couldn't find, there's a lady in Colorado that she's a photographer. She's a BCorp
Oh, okay.
herself.
Oh, just, oh, really?
So I'll connect, cause Julie knows her, cause she, anyways, I'll connect you
That's great.
three, and then she can't sell how she got certified and even got to get the
That would be
champion
great.
of best part of the world.
Because I think if you're already
Yes.
taking measurements, that's a big part of the assessment.
Exactly, I mean, I was.
Meaning there's no size, no,
Right, I was really excited to hear that, and she just, like, someone said, yeah, you know, you can be one person, and then, and I was also interested, like when Danica was saying this morning, just this, the rigorous process that it is, but also, like you were saying, like, Albuquerque's a small market, so we may not have competitors per se out here, but as you go out into other states, you definitely do. So do you find that vendors or customers are more inclined to go with you more because of being your person?
Both.
Oh, both?
Yeah, as well as our employees. I mean, we are, like, right now we're recruiting talent from across the world, and they are, like, they have the choice of Disney, Universal, or Meow Wolf, and they're coming to us,
That's
which is fascinating
How
and
cool
amazing.
is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, and, you know, I think that, yeah, it's great, it's great. I'm curious from your side, like, okay, you have the nonprofit arm and the business arm, like, what's the divide for you, and like, are you thinking about moving forward, like, as a B Corp, as a business, or like,
Yeah, moving
you know.
forward as a B Corp, well, I think we'll always have a nonprofit arm, because honestly, money comes into the nonprofit arm without even having to compete, like,
Yeah.
so it's just, I think when people hear of seniors, they're like, it's obviously a nonprofit, would you like to apply for this grant? You know, so like, because it's a socially good business, I think they just assume it's a nonprofit without even asking. But we started as an LLC because when I first pitched the idea at the first Startup Women's Weekend in New Mexico, which was 4 years ago. I was just we won in first place after I worked on it all weekend with a team of strangers. But then it was like, well, that was a cool thing I did this weekend, how random, because my background was in the film industry. And then ABQID, which at the time gave $20K for 6% of companies, they were like, we invite you to apply, and I was like, okay, because it's only an idea, I knew nothing about starting a business. And I applied, and they were like, how do you know this would be better as a nonprofit? Like, when I was pitching to the board, and I was like, I don't know the movie, I don't know how to start a nonprofit, I don't know how to start a for-profit, I've never done this before. I just think this would be great to see more human connection this way. So we got in, where we, me and the teenager that was telling me that summer, and then she quit, she was like, I don't want to go back to, fight with my friends. And I was like, dang it, because her dad was a VC, he was like negotiating what her terms should be for equity, and I was like, I kind of didn't know the social media post. Yeah, so anyway, that's why we started as an LLC, because without that $20K, I would not have been able to start it. But then as time went on, but also just from me knowing New Mexico, because I grew up here, we're one of the most impoverished states. I knew there would be tons of seniors who couldn't afford to pay, which there were. So we were just volunteering our time and doing free events every month for seniors who couldn't afford to pay. And I'm like, surely somebody would sponsor these, like, because we're using our own gas and our own time. Anyway, then Blue Cross Blue Shield reached out and said, we heard about you guys on Facebook. We really like what you're doing. You don't need to apply. Can we give you $5,000 grant to have a nonprofit arm? I was like, okay, we will. So then I got a fiscal sponsor through SYNC. Do you know guys know that SYNC, Rio Grande Community Development Corporation?
It's Thursday morning.
SYNC, Impact and Copy, yeah. SYNC is their umbrella. They basically fiscally sponsors all kinds of nonprofit projects. So they were like, yeah, we'd love to have you board. They take 10% of whatever you bring in, but they're really good about advocating for you and helping you raise grants and stuff. So anyway, that's how we have the nonprofit arm too. And I would say the nonprofit arm has brought in more money But I don't know if that's just because I'm also like such a one-person shop, that I just don't have. I'm curious if we had the time to market it to the bigger senior living communities and say, we should be working in all of your Bernalillo counties, you know, like the more posh.
Sarah has so many senior living
Yeah.
communities, and those are the people that can pay for it, because they have a lot more money to help the ones that are less.
Yes, exactly. And my experience has been when we work at those posh senior living communities, they're happy to pay for it, but then they want their residents to pay for individual sessions after that. It seems to not be, I don't know if they're limited in their activities budget or what, because it's weird, people, I think that's an industry that needs to be, that could stand to be more innovative, because if our grandmas and grandpas are not complaining, like, there's nothing to do here, we don't want Arts and Crafts Wednesday again, then they will just continue with Arts and Crafts Wednesday for like 10, 15 years. If they don't get pushback from their residents, they don't change. And so if I come in and say, well, there's people that wanna learn, but it's $400 for a group event, $400, and I'm like, I know they can afford it, and these expensive places.
El Castillo is $90,000 a buy-in.
Yes, $90,000, I know, and then it's like
Buy-in, that
to-
doesn't even cover your monthly costs.
No, it's more at the Villena, it's like, I heard it's like 400,000 by.
I
And then
think
you
it
pay
starts at
8,000 months to live there.
It's
It's like a whole like retirement.
We should open our own retirement.
Yes.
I wanna go to the Meow retirement.
Yeah.
That's a huge, they say demand for,
Oh, yeah.
houses and senior care in general.
Yeah,
It
He's
is.
the one willing to do the job, but, baby boomers are getting there.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting because I just know so much more about it now, because teenagers works in these low income senior living communities where you go if you have no money, like HUD housing with senior living. And those really posh senior living communities that like only millionaires can live there. And so it's sad
I bet the
actually to
contrast
see.
is
Oh,
really
huge,
incredible.
yeah, but to be honest with you, yeah, it is, but at least in some of the lower income ones, you see more of a sense of community, whereas the
It would be interesting though to have somebody go into a sales pitch on your behalf from your business.
Yeah.
But I don't know, they sound like they'll hire a band for $100.
Yeah, and again, I say this without really having tried that hard, because I'm so overwhelmed all the time,
That
even if
industry,
you
I
do
don't
a
know.
group event, I don't have, like, I'll follow up with them and say, oh, we had a great time, we would love to work with you guys again, but if I don't hear back, I just like, I don't have time to like keep following up. And so, and then they have a lot of turnover, so their activities director, their salesperson changes, and then 3 years later, somebody will contact me from the same place and say, we heard about teenagers, we'd love to have you come out. Kind of like the same thing happens again. But anyway, so that's why we have the LLC on the small,
yeah.
on the nonprofit, and so that's why I was so curious about the B Corp talks today, because I was like, I know nothing about B Corp, but I know I tried to do that when I started teenagers. And even the people's Secretary of State's office, where you sign up to be an LLC for like, what's it? We don't have that, and so anyway,
It's true. I definitely recommend keeping the nonprofit, and it's just like, it's such a good tool to use, especially for fundraising and all of the things.
do you
that
guys
we're
have a
doing.
nonprofit as well?
We do, we're gonna be revamping it in the next couple of years here to be more of a foundation.
Are you with Yellow Foundation or what do you know?
We're
I mean, the
a
nonprofit.
business, it's called Chimera, it's
Oh.
non-active.
What would your goal be with the nonprofit versus the for-profit?
We're gonna use it as a tool, because we get tons of people, businesses, folks coming to us and saying, how should we spend our money? And so we're gonna move some of our philanthropic efforts under our nonprofit and have its own staff, and be able to fundraise as well. So we're not gonna set it up as a real foundation, but it'll be a standard nonprofit called the Meow Foundation. And we're gonna focus more on like spaces, because that's a really big need in the arts community. Is space, co-working space, studio space, creative space, safe space as well. And so we're really looking we have our DIY fund that focuses on safe space for groups across the country, and we're gonna move that under the nonprofit, as well as thinking about like a relationship with cities, counties, municipalities, as well as private folks that want to donate their space to somebody else. So like Vitals, I don't know if you know Vital Spaces, but they're in Santa Fe. They started
Hard
last
job.
year and have been super successful for they take an empty building, and like the landlord's like, hey, my building's empty, like, could you fill it? And like they actually subsidize the rent to the nonprofit Vital
Yeah.
Spaces. And so we're thinking about a larger collaboration with them.
I went up there, I was gonna say, what's the place up there? That's it. Went to Creative Santa Fe and they met in there. And that was such a
Remember
cool,
that event? That was a great event.
that was a cool event. And had the poem, the fellow telephone booths with the poems. What the heck? You guys are really
Santa
great.
Fe.
Yeah, you're really edge. That was so much fun.
By the way, so this is something I'll make available on the website, the event website, but just a bit more info on startups and so I'll make that slide. Or
This is
that.
easier.
But that link is long, we have to type that, so.
Yeah, could you put it on the website too? It'll be-
I'll put there and just, so thanks to Kate and Tanika for suggesting some of these resources.
Oh, yeah. Hey, is that because you, like, you remember the heart of starting as a
So I actually joined after we got certified, but really we work a lot with entrepreneurs and we run accelerator programs and incubator programs. And so one of the things that we're looking at now is how can we provide training to these entrepreneurs about BCorp certification or just about the impact assessment and measurement so that they can have good and sustainable business.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we're exploring now are what are the resources that are out there and then potentially looking at how do we fund some sort of resources that we can get out into the communities that we work with for entrepreneurs or just for companies that are interested